Hello folks, well it's episode 7 and it's time to tidy up a few loose ends. We're going to be looking at some skippers and some hair streaks. Now if you've been paying attention, and I hope you have because there's going to be a quiz at the end of all this, we've already covered a few skippers in our chalk grassland episode, and there was a purple hair streak way back in episode 2. But there's 6 more skippers and hair streaks that need to be dealt with, so we'll jump straight in. So butterfly 29 is the green hair streak. Now the green hair streak is really easy. It's the only butterfly in Sussex that's green. So if you see a green butterfly, it's a green hair streak. A lovely iridescent shiny green on the underside of those wings there. The upper side is brown, but don't worry about that because you never see the upper side of their wings. They always land with their wings closed. Another nice photograph by Bob here showing the lovely green iridescence on the underside of the green hair streak's wings. They'll sit perched on a bush and they'll fly out, and they're quite hard to follow when they fly, but they will typically return to the same perch on the bush. So look out for them, especially around the South Downs. Butterfly number 30 is the white letter hair streak. The white letter hair streak is not an easy butterfly to watch. They lay their eggs on elm trees, and so what you'll need to do is go and find a big old elm tree, and you'll need a pair of these, a pair of binoculars, and then you've got to stand there for a long time and stare high up, way up into the top branches of the elm tree, and what you'll be looking for is a small dark butterfly jittering around up there amongst the branches. If it lands, you'll see this very dark, distinctive triangle shape. If you're very lucky and get your binoculars in focus, you'll see it has an orange band on the hind wing with a white letter, and that white letter is that W there on the hind wing. Oh, now Bob's got a lovely photograph here. He's been very lucky because a white letter hair streak has come down and landed on some flowers to get some nectar, which means we can see some of those ID features I was talking about. There's brown wings on the underside, the orange band on the end of the hind wings, and the upside down W. It looks more like an M in this picture, but it's an upside down W here, which is the white letter of the white letter hair streak. Now these butterflies also have 2 little tails on the back of their wings here. We've mentioned before how some butterflies have eye spots to deflect the attack of predatory birds. Now birds are really stupid. Now if a bird saw this, it will think those 2 tails are actually the antennae and will attack that first, thinking that is the head end. The butterfly can lose those little tails and part of its wing, but it can't get very far without a head. And so this white letter hair streak has a great mechanism here to avoid being killed by a bird. If you want to see a white letter hair streak, my advice is to get down to the seaside, because in Seaford, Eastbourne, Hastings and Brighton and Hove, you're going to find those big, old, mature elm trees that butterflies love. So next time you're down there, take your binoculars with you and start scanning the tops of the trees. In the early morning and late afternoon is the best time. As you look up, you may see those dark butterflies jittering around up in the branches. A great place to go is in the gardens of the Royal Pavilion in Brighton and Hove. So next time you're down there in the summer, take your binoculars and stand in the gardens looking up at the elm trees. But through personal experience, be prepared for people staring at you like you're some sort of weirdo, and also asking you loads of questions like, what the hell are you doing? Now butterfly 31 is the brown hair streak. Now the brown hair streak is one of the last butterflies to emerge in the year. You'll see it from mid-July way into September. I've no idea why I've written fast high flyer on this slide. This is one butterfly you're probably going to see quite low down, so ignore that. I was drunk when I did this slide, obviously. Now the butterfly is orange underneath with a lovely white stripes going through the wings. If you see the top of the wings, if you're lucky, you'll see the female has those 2 orange marks. The male is entirely brown on top, but it's very, very unlikely that you'll see a male. Now the brown hair streak is another elusive hair streak. However, if you know where to look, you could be in with a good chance of seeing one. Now way back in 2010, we did a survey in the summer looking for sightings of brown hair streak. And we found records of them in 27 tetrads, the 2-kilometre squares across Sussex. However, in the winter, we went searching for brown hairstreak eggs. Now, brown hairstreaks lay eggs on blackthorn hedges. And these are the tiny brown hairstreak eggs you can find in the forks of the blackthorn. They're quite easy to see in the winter against the dark bark of the blackthorn. You'll need a hand lens though. If you look really closely, and if you use a hand lens and get in really close, you can see they're quite intricate. They're like a little tiny sea urchin. And the pattern is very crenulated, which is a word I use even though I have absolutely no idea what it means. So in 2010, we found adult hairstreaks in 27 tetrads. And in the winter, I organised a team of people, of volunteers who went out and searched the hedgerows of Sussex for those tiny crenulated eggs. And we found that brown hairstreaks are everywhere in Sussex. Well, not exactly, they're everywhere in West Sussex. It's a butterfly that has a strong aversion, it seems, to the east of the county, and our county's population goes as far east as Plumpton and Barcombe, around that area, and then it sort of stops. So if you live in East Sussex, you have to get on the bus and travel across to the west of the county. And there we found the butterfly's eggs in the countryside, on farmland, in parks and gardens, on roundabouts, in town centres. It's a very widespread butterfly and seemingly quite common, but very elusive. But if you want to see one, well, you need a few tips on how to look for them. And so it's time to go across to our roving reporter to find out some more. Okay, so I'm doing some more roving reporting today. I'm out in West Sussex looking for brown hairstreaks. So I'm in the right part of the county and I'm trying to find the right habitat. Now, brown hairstreaks love blackthorn hedges. That's where they lay their eggs. And here is a lovely brown hairstreak blackthorn hedge. Now, it looks great. I'll walk down there in a minute and show you some of the great features of this hedge. But when you're trying to find brown hairstreaks, you've got to be the butterfly. Be the butterfly. You've got to think, what would the butterfly do? Now, the brown hairstreaks would have emerged. They were pupated on this hedge. They would have emerged and they would have flown right to the top of the nearest ash tree up here, up by that buzzard up there. So they'll be up there. The males will stay up there, but the females will come down to lay eggs. And when she comes down, she's going to try and find a lovely sunny blackthorn hedge, a nice warm hedge where her eggs and caterpillars can develop. So you've got to find a nice south-facing blackthorn hedge. This is a lovely south-facing hedge here. So the sun is going to come right across the sky. It's going to come right over here. And so it's going to be on this hedge for most of the day. So we've got the right hedge. We're in the right part of the county. Now, when you look for brown hairstreaks, they tend to like the younger growth of the blackthorn. So I don't tend to see them too high up on the hedge, but I do see them down here in this young growth on the edge of the blackthorn hedge here. So this young growth is where you may see a female flying along, pausing, testing the leaves, and then depositing her egg before moving on and dancing down the hedgerow to lay another. Okay, well, thanks for that. Thanks very much. We'll move on now from the hairstreaks to the skippers. And butterfly number 32 is the large skipper. Now, the large skipper could well have featured way back in episode 2 because you'll find it in sunny woodland glades and open, wide woodland rides. It's the first of 3 orange skippers, and these 3 skippers hold their wings at quite a strange angle. They kind of hold their wings kind of like this. So always worry, people are going to think I'm doing the YMCA dance, but they kind of hold their wings like that and then flat. They're bright orange, as I say, and they're very territorial. So you'll see one perching on some brambles, it'll fly out, attack something or patrol its territory, then come flying back to a perch. One of the features of the large skipper, apart from its size, are these panels on the wings. So it has a bit of a pattern. The other skippers we'll see don't have these markings on the wings here. It's not particularly strong pattern, but it's a slight pattern on the upper side of the wings. They also have these incredibly long blobs on the end of their antennae, which are hooked at the end. And here Bob's got a photograph of the underside of a large skipper's wings. You can still make out a few pale panels there. Again, very slight, but it's certainly an ID feature to tell them apart from the other skippers we'll see. So here we are, butterflies 33 and 34, the small skipper and the Essex skipper, and these are the hardest butterflies to identify in all of Sussex. So this is as hard as it gets, okay? So bear with me on this one. They are so hard to tell apart that I haven't even given them their own slide each. I can't even tell them apart on this slide. The small skipper, that comes out first around June time, a very active butterfly flying around the grasslands. And the Essex skipper, well, that comes out a bit later, but not much later. Again, a very active butterfly flying around in the grasslands. There are a few features to tell them apart. We'll go through some of them, but it's very, very tricky, so pay attention. Now, on the underside of the wings, it's very hard to tell them apart. Apparently, the small skipper has a more of a defined colour at the wingtip, but it's all very vague, so let's ignore that. We'll go on to another ID feature. Now, the next ID feature we can use to tell Essex and small skipper apart is also really vague as well. Now, if you see in the centre of the, let's get this to work. If you see in the centre of the wing here, there's a little black line. Now, that little black line is a sex brand. It's used in courtship, so it's only found on the males. Now, in the small skipper, that black line is longer than the Essex skipper and a little bit curved. But again, it's very vague. So let's move on to the only ID feature you can reliably use to tell Essex and small skipper apart. And to see this feature, you've got to get down on your hands and knees and crawl up face to face with these skippers. And what you're looking for is the underside of their antennae. Now, in the Essex skipper, you can see the underside of the antennae is very black. It's like it's been dipped in ink. If it was a small skipper, it would be orange. Now, not the top of the antennae, the underside. So you've got to get down really low and look up at these skippers to determine which is which sounds like a job for our roving reporter. Okay, folks, I'm out and about on a skipper safari in my front garden. I can see some small orange butterflies whizzing around in the grass here, but are they small skippers or Essex skippers? There's a 6-spot burnet there. We don't need that today. Now, if you look around, you do see them perched on top of the grass heads. Now, here's a skipper, and you can see that the underside of the antennae are very black. So this is an Essex skipper. A good time to search for them is in the early evening when they roost on top of the grass stems. Now here's one. If I can get close, we can try and see the underside of the antennae. I'll need my magnifying glass. And if I zoom in, well, they're dark orange, but they're not jet black. So this is a small skipper. So thank you for that roving report there. As you can see, it's very easy to tell the small skipper from the Essex skipper. All you've got to do is crawl around in the grass for an hour with a magnifying glass. So that's 6 more species crossed off our list of the butterflies of Sussex. Join us in episode 8 and we'll cross off another 6.